The Seminole people were not native to Florida. They were originally part of Creek communities in the southeastern United States. In the 18th century, they migrated to Florida. They sought new lands and greater autonomy. The Seminoles were skilled hunters and farmers. They adapted well to the Florida environment. The Seminoles lived in villages scattered across the Florida peninsula. Their society was decentralized. They valued independence and self-reliance. The Seminoles welcomed runaway slaves from the southern states. They offered them protection and a chance to build new lives. This practice angered American slaveholders. It became a major source of tension between the Seminoles and the United States. The Seminoles faced growing pressure from the expanding American nation. The U.S. sought to control Florida. This desire for land and resources set the stage for a series of conflicts known as the Seminole Wars. These wars tested the Seminoles' resilience and determination to remain free in their adopted homeland. The United States viewed the Seminoles' presence in Florida with increasing unease. American settlers coveted the fertile lands of the region. They pressured the government to acquire Florida from Spain. Moreover, the issue of escaped slaves seeking refuge among the Seminoles inflamed tensions. Southern slaveholders resented the Seminoles' protection of runaway slaves. They viewed it as a threat to their property rights and the institution of slavery. The Seminoles, on the other hand, saw the escaped slaves as valuable members of their communities. They offered them freedom and a chance to integrate into Seminole society. The U.S. government demanded that the Seminoles return escaped slaves. The Seminoles refused. They argued that they had the right to offer sanctuary to those fleeing oppression. This disagreement over escaped slaves, coupled with America's expansionist ambitions, created a volatile situation in Florida. It set the stage for the First Seminole War. The First Seminole War, from 1817 to 1818, marked the beginning of a long and bloody conflict between the United States and the Seminole people. The war was sparked by a series of cross-border raids and retaliatory attacks. General Andrew Jackson, known for his aggressive military tactics, was ordered to lead the American forces into Florida. Jackson's campaign was swift and brutal. He invaded Florida with a force of U.S. Army regulars, militia, and Creek allies. Jackson's forces attacked Seminole villages, burning homes and crops. They also targeted Spanish forts, viewing Spain as complicit in harboring escaped slaves and inciting Seminole resistance. Jackson's actions demonstrated the U.S. government's determination to assert control over Florida and subdue the Seminoles. His campaign, though marked by controversy and accusations of brutality, ultimately forced Spain to the negotiating table. The First Seminole War ended not on the battlefield but with a diplomatic agreement that would have far-reaching consequences for both the Seminoles and the future of Florida. Section 4. A Treaty's Broken Promise, the Adams-Onís Treaty, and its Aftermath. The Adams-Onís Treaty of 1819 formally ceded Florida to the United States. This treaty was a direct result of the First Seminole War. It had significant implications for the Seminoles. Although the treaty transferred Florida to American control, it also contained provisions meant to protect Seminole land rights. The treaty stipulated that the Seminoles would be granted a reservation within Florida's boundaries. However, the treaty's promises proved hollow. American settlers encroached upon Seminole lands. The U.S. government failed to enforce the treaty's provisions. This disregard for Seminole rights created resentment and set the stage for future conflict. The Seminoles, facing increasing pressure from American settlers and the U.S. government, found themselves in a precarious position. The treaty that was supposed to protect them had instead paved the way for their further dispossession and the escalation of tensions that would lead to the Second Seminole War. Section 5. The Gathering Storm, Indian Removal, and Seminole Defiance. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 cast a long shadow over the Seminoles and other Native American tribes in the southeastern United States. This act authorized the president to negotiate treaties with Native American tribes. The goal was to relocate them west of the Mississippi River to Indian Territory, which is present-day Oklahoma. The U.S. government argued that Indian removal was necessary for the progress of the nation. They claimed it would open up lands for white settlement and prevent further conflicts between Native Americans and settlers. The Seminoles, however, viewed the removal policy as a threat to their very existence. They refused to leave their Florida homeland. Despite the Seminoles' resistance, the U.S. government pressured them to sign treaties agreeing to relocation. These treaties were often signed by small factions within the Seminole Nation. They did not represent the will of the majority. The stage was set for a final showdown between the determined Seminoles and the forces of American expansion.